So we've seen plenty of unicorns being born last year, right? Plenty of companies that have raised money at $1 billion and above valuation. And the people investing in these companies are obviously venture capitalists. And you might think that if a venture capitalist is investing $100 million and above in a company, then that company is doing very, very well. The venture capitalists must have thought about things, done their research, seen the data. Well, it turns out that that's not always true. The company Fast, which is a one-click checkout company, had raised more than $100 million from Y Combinator, Stripe, and plenty of other VCs. Today, they are on the verge of death. In fact, they have just shut down, right? And this company, many things going wrong with this company. In fact, I have no idea how they even raised their last round of money, but things happen in Silicon Valley, and I'm going to run you through the drama that is going on or has been going on for a while around this company. So, first things first, right? This company has only generated $600,000 of revenue. Imagine that. You are a company that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars, but you have only made $600,000 in revenue. In fact, that's very tiny in proportion to the amount of capital raised. The company also has 650 employees. In fact, more than 650 employees, which is questionable, right? Because if you're a company that's only making, let's say, 600K in revenue, why do you have 600 employees? In fact, it reminds me of when I first started a company, right? When I was in like second or third year of college, I wanted to have as many employees as possible because I was like, people are going to think I'm cool. Right? That's why I wanted to do that at that point. Today, it's the complete opposite, right? I want to have as fewer employees as possible because I want to maintain a culture. I want to make sure revenue per employee is really, really high. Fast did the opposite of that. And the problem with that is now your burn rate is very high, right? So Fast had a burn rate of $10 million plus, which is insane. It's not normal for a company to have a $10 million a month burn rate and make just, $50,000-ish a month. It's ridiculous. So Fast had a very simple value prop to VCs. They said that, look, if you go to a e-commerce store on the internet, you want to buy a t-shirt, then you're going to go through 3-4 steps to kind of check out. First, you'd put in your address, you'd put in your PIN code, you'd put in your phone number, you'd put in your email, and then you'd put in your card details and kind of make that transaction. Fast said, we're going to compress that down to just one click. Well, the first time somebody does all these things, they have to go through multiple clicks. But the second time onwards, it's one click across different stores that use Fast. It is actually a pretty decent value prop. Friction is a thing, and reducing friction is always beneficial to whichever company implements Fast, right? So if an e-commerce store decided to use Fast, that would actually improve their conversion rate. I'm pretty sure of that. So it is kind of strange to hear that that didn't work out. And I know this works because there's another company called Bolt, right, which did pretty much the exact same thing. However, Bolt's revenue is $40 million from the last time they reported revenue. So $40 million in revenue on Bolt and $600,000 of revenue on Fast is there's such a big world of difference between the two that it doesn't make sense that Fast kind of blundered this so badly. So let's look into what happened exactly. So the first thing is that apparently the founder had a very messy past, right? There's this saying in psychology that past behavior is a great predictor of future behavior. Here's the founder's past, right? Apparently this person, his name is Dom Holland, ran a company called Tow, which is an on-demand towing platform in Australia. Again, he got all these awards, Deloitte, Tech Fast 50, Brisbane Young Entrepreneur of the Year. However, the company started doing badly, and what started happening was that this Holland guy had decided to sell the personal data of more than 21,000 people that they had collected through the app, which included things like bank accounts and driver's licensing, just to raise funds, right? He was eventually forced to surrender that data because of an order from Australia's Supreme Court, and Tow ended up owing 5.7 million Australian dollars, or about $4 million in the US, mostly to small towing companies. Right, so it always starts with the founders, right? Companies are built, or the culture of a company is built on the DNA of the founder. It seems that Fast founder had a slightly fraudulent past, and I think the same thing has been repeated with Fast in extent, right? I don't think he repeated these exact same things. It's just, it goes to show you that a founder that can think about selling his people's data to somebody else might have cut corners rather than trying to build a real business that adds real value to people's lives. Because it turns out that if you go in with the focus to add value to people's life, or actually build a business that is useful to somebody else, you think very differently from just, trying to make a quick buck like this person. And by the way, there's been controversy from day one. The founder of Bolt had actually put out a tweet thread. The founder's name was Ryan, and he put out a tweet thread which essentially called the people at Y Combinator and Stripe, which were the founders of Fast, he called them mob bosses. Right? So Ryan went on a rant and said that, look, he got rejected from YC because apparently Y Combinator had invested in this company Stripe, right, which is one of the biggest payment processors in the world today. And because Stripe started doing really well, Y Combinator stopped investing in the same kind of company targeting the same market. So I was actually pretty surprised when I found that to be true, because Y Combinator has invested in companies like Razorpay, which is again a payment processor. They have invested in companies that don't directly compete with Stripe. Razorpay competes in India and Stripe competes in the US and the rest of the world, right? So YC prefers not to kind of disturb their fastest moving horse. And from my experience, it's kind of been true. VCs they're not running a charity. They place bets on companies and they try to, go all in on those companies when those companies are doing well or show signs of promise. We also faced some of the same things when we were in EdTech. But back to Ryan. So Ryan said that Stripe and YC were mob bosses, and Stripe didn't really like them very much. And what Stripe ended up doing was picking up this company called Fast and just, throwing $100 million into this no-name company that came out of nowhere with no traction. And Ryan actually got belted on Twitter for this because a lot of people told him, hey, how can you call your competitors? How can you have such contempt for your competitors? And it turns out that he was right, because Fast actually was making no revenue and no traction. And Ryan was very clear that they didn't have great traction. So it's... a lot of people said bad things about him, but it turns out that he was partially true at the very least, right? Maybe the entire story is true. We don't know, right? We're just spectators watching this. I'm personally a big believer in the fact that it's okay for a startup to fail, right? The chance of success is like very low, right? So when a startup fails, I don't feel happy about it. But I do have a warning message for companies with incredibly high burn rates, who are not making revenue, who are just, clapping or tapping themselves on the back or patting themselves on the back saying, hey, we're a unicorn. Please think again, right? Unicorns can die. We are going to see many unicorns die. Many of the companies that exist today in India that are unicorns or across the world that are unicorns are going to be dead. They're going to be worth zero at some point. All that investor money is going to be wiped off. It's part of the game, right? And investors know that. Investors have hedged their bets. They're investing in 10s and 20s and 30s of companies to make sure that if one unicorn dies, it's okay, they've got more, right? One or two of those are going to do well. But for you and me, we just run one company, right? We just run one big company, which is live stream. So my only pitch to you is try to gun for revenue, right? In the short term, it's okay not to make money if you're trying to get growth or you're trying to starve out competitors. But in the long term, it's always a disaster, like we've seen with Fast, right? That's it for me. See ya.